this train of getting, getting us all migrated to securely, and, just trying to get the ins and outs of the differences between securely and iBoss. We've had some discussions about the capabilities of securely and what it can do. And I really like to, have these conversations go further. Obviously, we got to get everybody over and make sure everybody's fully on. We're hoping to, our goal is by the end of the year, the end of this calendar year, to actually get that done. So during this process, we're all here to help. We're all, the team over at Securely, the 4 people that are on from there are amazing, and will help anyone who needs help through this process. I'm here as well on the OSHEAN side. And I think this is a great opportunity now to talk about how powerful Securely is from a student safety perspective. So that's what we're here to talk about. And, I'm going to let Marissa kick it off.
Thanks, Brian. I appreciate that. One quick thing to get us kicked off. One of the initial meetings Securely and OSHEAN had together it was wonderful. It was good. It was successful. It was positive. And then once the OSHEAN team left the line, actually, John, I'm going to blow up your spot here. We had a private just debriefing. He goes, Marissa, that team, man, they are awesome to work with. They're passionate. They care. They're incredible. So you say nice things about us, and we mean it sincerely when we feel the same way about that. The behind the scenes there is definitely extremely positive. So OSHAN members, I say that to say to you guys, you have a really strong team in Securely, and you have a really strong team in OSHAN, and we are most certainly moving in lockstep together. So what I want to do today is not only make sure you're familiar with the Securely team spaces as well as the OSHAN team spaces, but also to ensure you guys are familiar with our solutions, the technology behind them, the deployment process, things of that nature. So again, I want you guys to leave this conversation feeling confident, well-informed, excited, and completely in the know. So with that said, we shall get into it. And for some reason, there we go, stuck. You've got a team of Securely presenters here behind us. So usually I don't spend a lot of time on this slide. However, for this conversation, I want to, because these are a bulk of the faces and people that you'll be connecting with over the Securely, over on the Securely side. So myself and Samantha Mora, we both will be your initial points of contact here at Securely. So at the end of the day, we're going to be the ones that provide you guys with demonstrations, UI walkthroughs, we'll answer questions, we'll schedule calls to connect with our engineers, we'll provide quotes, we'll do that full dance for you guys and really act as a quarterback for you. Brandon Duckworth is somebody who a lot of you might recognize. He is an incredible person, an incredible engineer. He was one of the first people that was a part of the whole Securely endeavor, and to boot has been with us from the onset of the Securely OSHAN partnership. And as a result, is going to be your primary point of contact from an engineering perspective. You'll be hearing a lot from him today and moving forward. Finally, John Chiaro heads up the customer success side of the house in our territory, which means that once you have come on board with Securely beyond the basic filter, you'll be working directly with his team. They make sure that you guys are standing on a firm foundation and have things that you need and deserve from us through the end of your time with Securely. Hopefully that doesn't come and you're with us for a long time, meaning you'll be with Chiaro and team for a long time as well. You'll be hearing from him as well today. And with that said, guys, just a little bit more framework for you. I am going to talk about the tools today. Samantha's going to talk about a lot of the tools today. And we're going to make sure you're familiar with what is available to you and some high-level features beyond that. However, I want to spend a majority of the time today not only talking, rather saving time for questions at the end of this conversation, but also ensuring that you have a really good understanding of the technology, deployment process, implementation expectations, etc., surrounding each tool. So I say that to say the tool-centric overviews themselves will be relatively high level in nature. So if you would like a more robust overview of the tools, perhaps UI walkthrough, a little bit more of a feature show, kind of really dive into the nuts and bolts of the tools themselves, that's when you're going to contact myself or Samantha, and we'll give that to you guys via a one-on-one call after this one here. So with that said, here is a list of Securely's offerings. One of the coolest things about Securely is we can really be an end-to-end solution for you, give you everything you need, one contract, one vendor, one support team, one etc. So there's a lot available to you here. The cool thing is, because of Securely and OSHEAN's partnership, you not only have a really seamless procurement process for any of the and all of these tools, but you also have some exclusive pricing as well, members only, which is a beautiful thing. And I can assure you the discounts associated with what members, OSHEAN members receive versus what our list price is relatively significant. So you guys get some really good tools at a really good price. With that being said, as mentioned, I'll give you some high level information, and let's start with filter. So one of the coolest things that I want to get across to you right out the gate is Securely is going to be, rather our filter is going to be very all purpose, as you can see here. So it's location agnostic, it's device agnostic, it's going to integrate with your existing platforms such as Google, Azure, and AD. It is highly customizable. So in addition to aligning with your existing structures, we're also going to give you the ability to really tweak and customize to a granular level to ensure the right people, the right groups, the right OUs, et cetera, are getting exactly what you want them to get and not getting exactly what you don't want them to get. So you can be very, very, tailored as far as that is concerned. Finally, we're only in the K-12 space. That has a lot of advantages for obvious reasons, a few of which are named under that smooth category. But just so you guys know, there again, we're 100% cloud-based, and there's some other components there that make the experience very smooth, very seamless, and very tailored to the K-12 experience. Now, typically when people think of a filter, they think of almost a mousetrap in a way that, thou shalt not pass, no gaming, no porn, no gambling, all of your standard filtering expectations. We do all of those things. We block what you want to block, we allow what you want to allow. However, we're also going to give you a layer of visibility into your student safety to ensure that kids are not only productive, but also safe. So we're going to use a combination of keyword scanning and emotionally intelligent AI to, again, not only block the things that need to be blocked, but flag more imminent signs of things like self-harm, violence, bullying, things of that nature. Plus, you'll have the ability to send those flagged/imminent alerts to delegated admin. You'll have the ability to download, schedule, and email reports on the fly. You'll have a lot of this visibility that is in many ways unrivaled, and it is accessible 24/7, 365 within the UI as well. So again, you've got a filter that is going to be all-encompassing, on-site, off-site, across all devices, integrating with your existing platforms. It's going to do the things you expect, such as blocking porn and gaming, etc., but it's also going to give you that extra layer from a safety perspective. With that in mind, Brandon, my friend, I'm going to throw you the ball if you want to kick off the deployment methods from a filtering perspective.
All right, thank you, Marissa. Good morning, everyone. So again, my name is Brandon Duckworth, and I oversee deployment of large entities with Securely. So I basically handle the day-to-day installation of the product for various different entities across the organization. So I specialize in large-scale rollouts and anything securely related. So what I'm going to do first this morning is take you guys through the deployment methodology we have for the filter product. We'll talk about some other products a little bit later, but I wanted to highlight how easy it is to deploy the solution and the kind of the different various methods we have available to us to get the filter product deployed. We're going to start there today with filter. So everyone knows Securely is this Chrome extension solution, which we are. Right, we can also filter other devices, but kind of what brought us to the table in K-12 filtering, is our Chromebook filtering extension. 100% cloud-based. Obviously, this is a piece of software that sits locally on the device and enables Securely to look at the traffic and make decisions on whether we're going to allow, specific content to those users from a reporting perspective, but also largely the student safety side of our solution. We're not just looking and blocking at content like a normal web filter. We're actually taking some artificial intelligence approaches to looking and analyzing data, making sure kids are safe, making sure that they're making, safe decisions when they're online on a district-owned device. So I think that's really a big part of what separates us from a traditional web filter is we have a lot of areas where we're doing filtering, but we're also doing scanning for, threats, for violence, for self-harm. So that's a big part of what makes the product what it is today. So the deployment method for Chrome extension, super easy. Obviously, if you've got Chromebooks, you've got a G Suite admin console, and it's a simple extension that gets pushed out via that console, and it will rapidly deploy to any user that logs into a Chromebook at the district. So this is a very simple method, and it can take as little as 5 minutes to roll out. So that's one way that we're able to get, filtering on devices, but we're also not just limited to Chromebooks. We have a lot of other solutions available to us, including our DNS and selective forwarding product. So if let's say you had Chromebooks, that's fine, but you got Windows machines and MacBooks and iPad devices that stay in district, and you want to capture that traffic, that's cool too. We have a DNS and selective filtering solution that'll grab traffic from your network and send that over to securely, so we can analyze it, make the same artificial intelligence decisions that our Chrome extension is doing for Chromebooks, and we're just applying that to a network perspective, so, via forwarding DNS. Super easy to configure this. We do selective SSL decryption with this solution, so it's just like having a filtering appliance without the appliance. We're simply grabbing traffic and decrypting selectively in the cloud. So really intelligent solution. We're able to block uncategorized content if you want to. We can analyze what kids are doing on all the major search engines, enforce YouTube controls. That's kind of what the DNS solution. It's meant to take the Chromebook experience and apply that at the network level, so you're not missing anything. But then a lot of people ask, what do you do when devices go home, that are not Chromebooks? How do you handle that? Well, that's fine too. We have a third solution that's available to customers called our SmartPAC. And this is an intelligent proxy that's been designed in the vehicle delivery mechanism of a proxy auto configuration script. And this can be deployed to pretty much anything: MacBooks, Windows devices through Active Directory, Microsoft Intune. We can use mobile device management solutions like Jamf, Mobile Manager to put, and even our own MDM solution to push this to Apple devices, Windows devices. Essentially, it's a DNS wrapper that just follows the user wherever they go. So if you have Chromebooks, that's great. We got you covered. If you want in-network filtering, we got you covered. If you want on and off-site filtering, we got you covered on all those different devices. We'll expand a little bit on the DNS solution. We're not just there to filter the production devices. We also have a solution for your guests as well. A lot of schools have a wireless platform that's set up to handle BYOD or maybe a conference. So we're fully equipped to handle that type of environment where you can't get a certificate, installed onto the device. And we're able to do a guest level, flat policy level filtering too. Now, with that said, we also support the production filtering of BYOD traffic, which not many filters can do. And that is where you've got individuals bringing devices into the district. You don't own them, but you want to do things like SSL decryption that requires a cert. Well, Securely kind of came up with a clever method of getting certificates on non-owned devices. And if you visit securely.com/SSL, you can see that in action. We'll actually detect your operating system and offer you the correct cert package. So what that does is it gives a production level filtering experience on a device you don't own. So if it gets brought into your network, you can have it filtered at a very specific level. The user is able to authenticate via Office 365 or Google and get that same experience on a non-managed device. That's pretty big. I think we're probably one of the industry leaders when it comes to being able to provide a production experience on a BYOD device. So that kind of breaks down the deployment methodologies for the different filtering things in the side of the house. And if there's any questions about that, I can certainly answer those. And if you want a more in-depth one-on-one call, I'm happy to schedule that. So on top of being a filter, we're also capable of scanning things like Google Docs and Drive and email and Exchange email if you're a Microsoft district. So we take our same threat intelligence and our language assessment capabilities through artificial intelligence, and we can actually deploy this from a G Suite perspective or an Office 365 perspective when we're sitting there monitoring kids' email. Are they threatening each other? Are they bullying each other? Are they uploading images to Google Docs and Drive or OneDrive that may have nudity or pornography in them? Our artificial intelligence is capable of scanning that. This can be broken down and very specific. If you want us to just scan specific students or specific grade levels, we can be as granular as your OU structure in Google or your security group structure in Office 365. So we're also capable of looking at the document perspective and email perspective. Super easy to deploy this as well. I think that's probably the next slide that Marissa's got. Yep. So all we're doing is creating some API security rules inside your G Suite. In the case of email, we set up a CC mechanism. Basically, if a student sends an email, securely gets a copy of it, and we scan it for all the bad stuff. That's all we're doing here. It'll never interfere with the transit of traffic. Securely can never block your email, but we're able to get a copy of it and we're able to scan it for you. And we apply our same artificial intelligence that we do on the filter side to the auditor side of the house. Now, the beautiful thing about this is when you combine data from both a filtering perspective and an email perspective, it gives you a tremendous advantage over, detecting the sentiment of the or the emotional state of the user, because web filters are web filters. They don't look at email. They don't look at what a kid's uploading to Docs and Drive. And when you give securely the visibility to do both of these, it allows our analysts to more accurately identify threats because they're able to look at a much larger data pool than your normal web filter. Next slide, Marissa.
Yep.
So again, this is just Google Docs and Drive. We talked about email, but Docs and Drive has its own set of APIs. And within, 5 minutes, we can, deploy these API and security rules to your Google Docs and Drive environment and be up and monitoring everything. It even sends a check and a test threat to let you know that it is up and running. And, anytime we do a deployment, we get confirmation that we're monitoring the environment. Super easy to deploy. So something new that we've developed with the Auditor, the Google Docs and Drive and Gmail and Microsoft scanning, is now we're actually able to be a little bit more proactive rather than reactive. So we came out with a system to quarantine images from email and which is coming soon in Docs and Drive. So that means if a student or any user, if you want to protect the entire environment, uploads a pornographic image to your environment, we can stop that before it happens, quarantine it, and let an administrator review that before it gets released into your environment, which is super huge. And it has a pretty intelligent confidence system behind this. You can say, all right, well, how confident is securely that a threat was uploaded to our environment? And I don't want you, preventing a user from uploading something unless the system's extremely confident, moderately confident. This has a system where you can basically set the confidence level of when you want to intervene and be proactive versus reactive. Like I said, again, this also covers to 365 customers. So if you're not a Google school and you want to monitor your OneDrive environment or your Office 365 email, I think it's called Exchange Live. Now we're able to set up journaling rules, which is essentially kind of like a CC rule in your Google Docs and Drive environment, or your 365, which basically sends an email to us. We get a copy of it, same as Google when we want to scan it. So it works the same way for Office 365. OneDrive's the same way. We're simply creating an API key, and that allows securely to go in there and look at the data. So same thing, really, all super fast, easy mechanisms to get us to be able to monitor the content.
Love it.
So on top of, oh yeah, and I'll let you take the classroom. I thought you wanted me to speak a little bit about classroom, Marissa, but you take it away.
That's cool. And it's funny because they're all so excited to talk about. We almost volley for the opportunity to do so. And Brandon, you're seamless in the way you describe. So Classroom is one of my favorite tools to talk about. Reason being, it's got two primary functions. One, you've got device management capabilities, which are great for obvious reasons. You have a repository of users, locations, devices. You can produce settings for those. It's really a wonderful management tool. And as you can see, it's compatible with many different, not only device types, but also many different platforms from that into Schoology, Canvas, ClassLink, etc. The list goes on. And another key piece here is it is cloud-based as well. So makes it very light touch, if you will. However, in addition to device management, it also provides some really awesome tools for teachers, which ding, 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 is why it's so much fun to talk about, because there's a real need for that in this space. So in addition to device management at the admin level, this deck is not cooperating. Teachers will have a ton of tools to leverage within the classroom. So after this conversation, it is my understanding that the OSHEAN team will be providing a link to the recording here, so we can go back and explore these in greater detail, and or again, Samantha and I can show you this information in a one-on-one call after this presentation. But just so you can have a flavor of what teachers are going to be able to do with our classroom tool. They're going to be able to do things like view their student screens, remotely close tabs. They'll be able to push pre-approved content. They'll be able to view student browsing history. They'll be able to communicate with their class. They'll be able to share their screen and apply audio. There is a lot that teachers are going to be able to do. And again, because it is location agnostic, the powerful thing is whether you've got most of your kids in class, maybe a couple are out sick, maybe there's some hybrid learning going on with COVID and everything that comes with that. Either way, again, Securely is like a warm blanket across the board where no matter where your students are, teachers can easily facilitate their classrooms, which is pretty profound there. Now, deployment, Brandon, I'll let you take this one away.
Sorry about that. I had to mute and I couldn't unstuck my mute button. So
No
deployment
worries.
for classroom, super simple as well. This follows in line with our Chrome extension that does filtering. We have a Chrome extension that enables our classroom capabilities as well. This is primarily deployed with G Suite. It's just another extension alongside our filtering extension, but it also works on the Chrome browser for Windows and MacBooks. And some very exciting news. We're actually developing a client that's going to release in a couple of weeks that's going to be able to be deployed to Windows devices. So we can have that full classroom experience, not just with the Chrome browser, but with a whole Windows operating system, which brings us more in line with not just being a classroom solution for Chromebooks, but also extending that capability to the Chrome browser on multiple devices and the Windows OS environment as well. That'll probably be a deployment mechanism that's done via GPO, maybe an MSI rollout via a group policy, essentially is how that works. But the classroom extension is deployed just like our filtering extension via your G Suite console. And we'll sync with your, whatever LMS or rostering system you might have. And we'll be able to pull, Google Classroom or Schoology or synchronize with whatever rostering system that you might be using to manage that classroom experience. And you get full-blown control over the student's device, whether it's what are they browsing, I want to push tabs, I want to look at their screen and see what they're doing. That's what this solution is meant to do.
Love it. And I hope by now you guys are catching this theme that is, listen, we're going to integrate with your existing platforms. We've got an easy rollout. We've got engineers to help you with the implementation, the configuration. So again, I really wanted to shine a light on the path forward, guys, whether you're deploying Classroom, Auditor, Filter, it doesn't matter. There's this ease of use concept and integrating with your existing platforms here. So hopefully that puts some wind in everybody's sails. Now, you might also be thinking, cool, sounds great, but how the heck are we going to kind of bring our teachers up to speed? I mean, it's one thing to leverage a new tool and it's another to train and roll out and prepare and all those things. It can be daunting, rightfully so. And you might have heard me mention, I think Brandon mentioned it as well, we're K-12 centric. So that really provides a lot of good benefits, one of which being the training, especially from a teacher's perspective. So we've got a couple different options for you guys, and over half of those options are free, which is great. So first and foremost, Learn Securely. That is a wonderful, wonderful platform. It's on demand, it's online, and really what it is a library of self-guided training courses. You can choose, classroom training, you can choose filter training, you can choose auditor training, there's training for parents. It just, the list goes on and on. And I actually have created an account within Learn Securely, and I take those self-guided training courses as if I'm with the district, and I can say with certainty that they're not only really easy to walk through and informative and user friendly, if you will, but they really are important. They're powerful, they're helpful, and again, free. The Lounge is another awesome location. Granted, it's more than a training tool, but it's also a training tool. So it is a user community at the end of the day, whether you're a teacher, administrator, other thought leaders outside of your district. Basically, it's a place where everybody can share ideas, talk about best practices, ask questions. There's a place within the Lounge that, just as a side note, we even give you the ability to submit feature requests that you might want Securely to consider building out. So a lot of cool things in there. You do have the ability to collaborate with teachers, again, best practices, things of that nature. There is some training associated with that. And then finally, folks will be able to win prizes as well as donate to their favorite charities based on the level of engagement they have within the Lounge. So again, I say that to say the Lounge certainly provides some really great training resources, but it's also a sounding board for you to connect with like-minded thinkers, people that are in similar roles as yourselves. And then finally, again, do some good, donate to charities, maybe win a few prizes along the way. And again, $0 associated with that, which is another wonderful thing. Finally, if you want something a little bit more robust, you're like, Maris, learn securely in the lounge. It's great. Cool. We love it. Thank you. But at the end of the day, we need something more robust. No worries. We got you covered there. So we do have some paid classroom training that's available as well. We'll have essentially you get in front of another one of our top engineers. I'm pretty sure it's still David Pasqua that's facilitating these. He is a wonderful resource. And what he's going to do is he's going to sit your teachers down. And he's going to provide 2 hours of virtual, very interactive training. He's going to have a pre and post close to that 2-hour training session. And he's also going to be able to send you guys some post-training certifications, guides tailored to what you uncovered, as well as a recording of the session that you can look back on. So many different layers, many different options, many of which are free, all of which are extremely helpful and tailored specifically to teachers as well as other folks within the school community there. MDM is another awesome tool, and it's very easy to understand when you've got a good understanding of classroom. Although most of you probably know what an MDM is, they're relatively self-explanatory. I do want to say that classroom and MDM are very similar in that both tools provide device management and both tools provide tools for teachers. The difference between the two is MDM is going to be Apple-centric, so iOS, tvOS, macOS. And as you can see here, it's cloud-based just like the others. It's location agnostic just like the others. It integrates with your key platforms, ASM, BPP, things of that nature. But again, you do have some K-12 centric tools and capabilities, not only for teachers, but admin as it pertains to management as well. So the deployment piece there is just as quick and easy. Brandon, I'll let you talk about that.
Yeah, so being a little bit more in depth of a deployment, because it is an MDM solution, essentially what we do is we go to Apple School Manager, which is Apple's system that decides what software will be controlling your devices. We create a relationship between Apple School Manager and Apple Identity, and then we're able to take over device enrollment program and volume purchasing program licensing on your devices. That is basically once enrolled and wiped via ASM, your device is now controlled by Securely. And that is, you can push apps to it, you can restrict control, you want to turn off Wi-Fi, the camera on the iPad, then this is all capable from a mobile device manager perspective. But yes, we will sync this system through Apple School Manager, and then through certificate provisioning, we'll be able to take over DEP and VPP, and then we can deploy and manage your Apple devices from both a network perspective and a restriction profile perspective, which is the individual settings on the device that I talked about earlier. Basically, you set it up, create the relationships, wipe them, and they auto enroll into Securely, and we can now control them.
Love it. Another key differentiator, Brandon, while you're on your talk track, if you want to bring this up, this is a beauty.
Yeah, so one of the unique things we do as an MDM that most MDMs don't, most MDMs are known to be software control programs for Apple. Basically, you want to manage settings, devices, and restrictions, but ours also allows the management of apps. Within Apple School Manager, if you're a large Mac district, you have in the console the ability to purchase volume licensing and distribute apps to the iPads that are in your infrastructure. That's called VPP. Well, we take a different approach to that. While we, of course, integrate with all the current things that Apple does with VPP, we're actually able to allow staff members to make app requests via Securely, and you can approve those requests. Let's say you got a bunch of licenses for specific educational software, but not enough for the whole district. One staff member could request that for their class. It could be provisioned, deployed right there on the fly, and you got a unique control over your app approval process within our MDM, where you can manage and distribute apps to your iPads, which is pretty cool.
Absolutely. Thank you. Samantha, ball's coming to you, friend.
Hi, everybody. Happy to see so many schools on the line right now. I know we just covered a lot. We went from filtering, we covered some classroom tools for teachers, all the way to device management. So I just kind of want to take a pause right there, just let you know that only represents a small portion of really what Securely is able to offer. So those in red will be the ones that I'm going to cover now. And this will hopefully just kind of circle back to Securely truly being that full end-to-end student safety solution. So that said, if you want to skip over to the next slide, please. Yeah, and the first one we're going to start with is 24. So Marissa mentioned earlier some of those alerts that our AI will be flagging for, grief, bullying, self-harm, violence. But it really comes down to saying, well, hey, it's great that you're able to flag for this, but what happens at Saturday at 3 a.m. when I'm, if you're like me, probably asleep and not looking at your email for these alerts to come in? Essentially, we just want to make sure you are able to sleep more soundly at night and know that our 24 team, being a team of highly trained analysts, looking over these alerts 24/7, 365. And so not only are they able to look into these alerts and hopefully mitigate the amount of false positives, they're also looking at trends and patterns, and they're able to determine if maybe this was an alert that probably more in tune with them doing a project currently. So not necessarily something that needs to be acted upon right then, or if it is something that is more critical, that you're able to deploy this escalation process. So the school would go ahead and set it up on the back end. If you want to reach out to other administrators when this alert comes through, or even those extremely critical moments when maybe looping in local law enforcement would probably be the best form of action to take next, you're able to deploy that with Securely's 24 team. Moving on to tip line. So it's very straightforward tool. Of course, I'm sure you're all very familiar with what a tip line is. Of course, anonymous tips that students are able to submit from a wide range of communication methods. So from the app, we're able to send out a tip via email, text, phone call, web submission. We know that not every student feels comfortable or confident going directly to the administration themselves. So now they have this other form to fill out and ensure that it's being told in a timely manner. And this also, just to make a point that the last slide I spoke about, our 24 team, that is also going to be the analyst that would look over these tip line alerts to ensure, again, that you're going to be alerted in a timely manner. Next, a more recent tool, and what I know a lot of us are very excited for, is going to be our visitor management. So now we know that we're able to look over filtering ability, and you have insight into your email and such, but now you really want to know who's coming onto the school campus itself. So this would be a sign-in method that you would have at the front of your school. The guest would be able to input their information or even scan their ID, and this will be cross-checked with other things such as sex offender list or campus watch list, just to ensure, again, those who are coming into your campus actually should be there. They are able to get badges that would, of course, have their information, and this will always be logged on the back end, so you can pull reports and see maybe the student they were associated with or the reason for the visit. Heaven forbid this is something that was actually a match to one of those lists in there. You are able to set out a silent alert to notify district or campus security officers or resource officers, just to ensure that that person is no longer allowed to be on this campus anymore. And then the final tool that we have here is personally one of my more favorite ones. And I've talked to a lot of you recently that have had to increase the one-to-one initiatives or the hybrid or remote learning initiatives that have been pushed out in the past few years. This really drives home that sense of community and overall visibility and transparency to include the parents into these offsite filtering initiatives. So it's a free app that parents would download. They would be linked to their student itself. They're able to see the same type of reports that administrators would, to see the recent searches and sites associated with the student. Any of those self-harm alerts, now the parents are able to be notified as well. But they can even go a step further and create custom rules and filtering for when they're offsite. They can do things like pausing the internet simply from that app on their phone itself. I will just pause there for a second, let you know that, or you can slip over to the next slide, to let you know that any changes or any just changes that the parents may have made in the back end would not follow them when they get into the school. And it would always be up to the school's discretion on how much visibility and control the parents will have. So that being said, if you have a take-home policy and you've decided that what you say goes, there's no changes or extra ability that you want the parents to make to that take-home policy, you can have that in place. Or you're able to even have a custom control. So of course, there's non-negotiables like pornography or gambling that you want those students to access. But now you can put the control back into the parents' hands and let them decide if they want to access things like social media or streaming media when they're at home. So again, that full visibility and sense of community to have that parental access for those students too. I think that's
Love it. Love it, love it, love it. John, you are next in line.
All right.
Thank you,
Well,
Samantha.
I will start by saying this. When I started with Securely 5 years ago, this presentation was a lot easier because all we had was Filter. I think we had maybe Auditor, and Home was just coming out. So I hope everybody's getting a ton from this. I know there's a lot to digest. And I'm going to add to that. In fact, when I joined, we had one person who was an account manager that covered all of the districts that we supported. And we have grown into a team of 20. So I'm really here representing the whole customer success organization. So for everybody that's on the call today, there's actually going to be potentially 4 of us that could be supporting you. And the way that we work, the way that we're segmented out is I am a customer success manager from an end-to-end perspective. So I work with districts of 8,000 students or higher on everything from day-to-day needs to renewals and additional products. And then alongside me, I've actually got a customer success manager who handles districts outside of that band, so anywhere up to 8,000 students. And then in addition to that, we actually will have account managers, which is a new thing for us going into the new school year. So depending on the size of your district, you'll have an account manager and a customer success manager dedicated to you. So technically 2 folks that you can reach out to. So I say all of that to say is we want to make sure that when you come on board with Securely, you are really covered throughout the whole cycle of your time with Securely. As Marissa said earlier, hopefully that is a very long time. That is our job, to make sure that we support you in the most effective way that we can, understand what success looks like to you, and help you meet those goals. So you can see here a couple of different things, right, that we want to cover. And I know some of these have already been covered here. But the other piece too is, in addition to my team, you've got a whole support team, right? Yes, Brandon is going to be a great resource from a solutions architect standpoint, really that highest level technical expert. But we also have, of course, your day-to-day, simple support questions that, we've got a whole team dedicated to that as well. So while I'm not your technical resource, I know who the right technical resource would be depending on the question, right? So if you've got a scenario where you're running into something and you say, hey, this needs a little bit of higher priority, I know that already. That's when you can reach out to somebody in our team and just say, hey, do you mind, pushing this up the chain a little bit? And that's where we come in as well. So you'll see just a lot of different things that we do. The other thing that we make sure we want to provide, and I think Marissa, on the next slide, I think we talked about this a little bit, but here's a little bit more, right, about in terms of what you're going to see from us. We put together for you at least twice a year, sometimes on a quarterly basis, depending on what you're looking for from a district perspective, which would be a partner review where we put together an impact report for you specific to the data in your district. So we talk about product adoption, we talk about just your stats compared to national stats and areas where we can help improve. We want to make sure your support experience is as good as it can be. And then we also, of course, talk about new features that have been rolled out recently, and then roadmap as well. So we want to make sure that you hear from us as often as you would like, but we're not overwhelming you, right? So we want to make sure that we do the best job we can to work alongside you. And I know in the case of everybody on this call, you also have the added bonus of having the OSHEAN team. So really just that extra layer, right? So that's not something most districts can say throughout the country. This is something special to what you guys have as well. And I will tell you again, I've been on enough of the calls with the teams, and it's a really, really exciting partnership that I think we will take this as really the how you do it, right? And how we partner with other statewide organizations. This is the way to do it. So so if you want to jump to the next one, Maris. So just to give you a couple of ideas of what you'll see on one of those impact reports, you'll see a couple of slides like this one and the next one. So again, this would be right what we're showing you from a recent upgrade. If you want to jump back to that one real quick, sorry. Just make sure everybody has a chance to read it. I'm not going to walk through line by line or anything like that, but you can see here, right? So we are continually making sure that we're innovating, that we're staying ahead of the game. In fact, I can tell you again, sitting in this seat for the last 5+ years, and Brandon can attest to this as well. It's been really interesting to see us roll out things like Securely Home. And I can tell you when we first rolled that out, people were like, are you crazy? You want to involve parents? That's the worst idea I've ever heard. And now, you can look out there, everybody's got some sort of, parent piece that they're integrating the parents, because they realize that parents want to be engaged. Parents want to be involved, especially the last 18 months or so. They want to make sure that they know 18+ months at this point. They want to make sure they know what's going on. They want to have that insight. They want to have, and to what Sam said, right, that engagement piece. They want to make sure that they're partnering with the district. They want to make sure that if there is something going on with their child, and I can tell you as a parent, right, tools like that, they're invaluable. It just gives you that extra peace of mind to know that if you see something off about your child, you can just take a quick glance. But on the other side of that, if you just want to see what's going on and you find out something really cool about what that child is learning in school, you can talk to them about that. I know we always use the example, right? If like you realize your child's doing a ton of research on coding, right? And that's something that you do for work or something like that, you can talk to them about that. So it's just a really good way to get parents involved as well. So that being said, we can jump to the next slide if you want.
Hey, John, we had a quick question in the chat box.
Sure.
Someone had asked, how to securely protect from malware and ransomware?
So I'll let Brandon talk to that a little bit more because he's probably more familiar with it than I am. I know right now we're doing a lot of things on the back end, so we are covering a lot of that. We're filtering for that. I believe we're actually going to be building out an additional category for that as well here.
Yeah, we have a malware and phishing category that's tied to our one of our security filters inside the filter. So if you go into filter and you look at anonymous proxies, if you check that box, there's a malware and phishing database that's also attached to that. And that's kind of a little bit proactive, but we're building an active tool to go along with our solution that's going to bolster that. And then you could say that we would be comparable to something like Cisco Umbrella or something like that in the future. So today, we keep a list of malware and phishing sites, and that's definitely taken into the equation when you deploy the filter. But there is an active solution that's on the horizon that'll put us up there with someone like Cisco Umbrella, or one of your DNS security solutions that also has an active malware and phishing platform.
Excellent.
Awesome. Thanks, Brandon. So yeah, I'll pretty much wrap it up. And I know I
hate to interrupt, but there's just one more question that I could easily
go for
answer. So is there a supported way? This is the question. Is there a supported way to utilize securely filter DNS and Cisco Umbrella? The answer to that is no. You can't use two different DNS solutions at the same time. However, let's say you wanted to keep Umbrella or another DNS phishing platform. There's various platforms that exist out there, and you wanted to deploy securely too. You can do that. But you would be limited to deploying the Chrome extension for Chromebooks, and you would put SmartPAC on all your devices that you wanted filtering, and SmartPAC would handle the filtering side of the house, and then something like MSI-SAC or Cisco Umbrella could still remain your malware solution. So you could have securely deployed from a Chrome extension perspective, and then if you directly deployed filtering to Windows devices, iPads, MacBooks that you owned, then we got you covered. We just wouldn't be able to do your BYOD at that point because you're using something like MSI-SAC or Cisco Umbrella. So the answer is yes, but with some considerations.
And I was going to say all of that, but Brandon just jumped ahead of me with that. Just kidding. Yeah, that's why we've got people like Brandon on the team to support you guys as well. So again, like I said, I mean, that's really it from my side of the house. Looking forward to working with everybody. And I believe that the OSHEAN team has the updated list of how everybody is aligned once you come on board with Securely. But again, our team's role, the customer success team's role, is to make sure that we are keeping our end of the bargain once you come on board with Securely.
Thank you, John. Brandon, asking answering questions on the fly rather, and Samantha, your overview of those pretty critical tools as well. Gang, we have made it. Often this is the best part about a presentation here and now. So let's open the floor. Got a couple minutes left for Q&A. I know we took a few on the fly here. I don't see any additional questions in the chat right now, but feel free to ask away. They say silence is golden, but there is no way we did such a good job that nobody has any questions. Is that really the case? Because hey, that's a good thing.
No, I mean, Jeremy asked the question that I was interested in because we do use the MSI-SAC for malware and filtering, and we do want to have that dual layer. So, I mean, if we can do that with the SmartPAC, and we just do that with DNS of known good devices, it's a good start because it's internal. It won't matter if you have an outside guest network because they shouldn't have direct access anyway. So that you can still just use Securely's whatever.
Yeah, you could use our SmartPAC on all your devices, and you could use our extension on your Chromebooks. And the hope is, Q2, Q3, I think is when we're starting product, development roadmap. Hopefully, we'll have an MSI-SAC, built into the product, right? So that's the dream, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Jose told me this morning, I was on a support call with him talking about this. He said that SmartPAC is not compatible with an upstream DNS filter.
That is not necessarily true. So SmartPAC encapsulates through a set of APIs our DNS and selected provisioning process, but you could deploy SmartPAC. It would make its calls to any traffic that's categorized by us. Anything that slips through would be subject to MSI-SAC. So if we didn't have something categorized and our service didn't selectively proxy it, it would get caught by whatever internal DNS solution that you were using.
Okay.
Obviously, offsite, you lose the visibility of MSI-SAC unless they have. Is MSI-SAC deployable offsite as well? Does it follow the user? Okay, all right. So then you're back to securely protecting your full fold if a device leaves the district. But yeah, you can use SmartPAC alongside another solution as long as that solution is not interfering with requests destined to securely or star.securely.com. So as long as they're not monkeying around with our queries to our realm, then you're completely fine.
Hi, it's Doug Snow. What about pricing? Is this all a la carte? I can pick and choose what I want and build from it? Because, we use products like Gaggle, and I can see where we could get rid of one and have just one platform would make my life a lot easier. But how is the purchasing power on that? And then is it all through OSHEAN or is it direct through Securely?
Yeah. So today that'll come through Securely. However, there's integration on the back end to ensure that OSHEAN would be a part of that process. Out of the offering list, and let me see if I can't go back to this slide that demonstrates this right here. So ignore the red and black font here. Again, this is the slide you saw at the beginning. This is the offering list that we have. Essentially what we have is the ability to procure a la carte. You pick and choose what you want. We also have some special pre-packages, some bundles that'll include various tools at a discounted rate. All of that, again, falls within the confines of the special members pricing for OSHEAN members. However, out of all the tools you see here, all of them are paid tools except for filter. So, and this is unique to you guys as OSHEAN members. This is not something we offer outside of this, but essentially you have the option to choose a free version of filter or a paid version of filter. The free version is a bit more stripped down. It doesn't include things like home with that, but it is essentially your point of entry into Securely. There is also a paid version, as mentioned, which is still discounted and within the confines of the OSHEAN members pricing. However, it includes a few more bells and whistles, including that home tool. Everything else has one version, and it is a paid version. It is discounted again within the confines of the OSHEAN member pricing, but that is how that's structured. So there are discounts across the board. There's a free and a paid version of filter only. And finally, these tools can be procured either a la carte or via one of our bundles, which again provides even more savings over the a la carte method. So I'm not sure who asked that question. Pat, that wasn't you, was it?
No, it's Doug Snow that
Okay.
Because I'm looking like I use Jamf Pro too. And, it's like we already use Securely with our iPads because the iBoss was horrible. So I could see where I could use the MDM, but we can't just roll this all out at once because it would make our life a disaster. So
yeah. Well, two things. Doug, thank you for asking that question. Oh, look, there's my health rather than my lunch. Doug, thank you for asking that question, but Pat, hopefully that answered it as well. And we can stagger your rollout as well. So if you were to move with multiple tools, we're not going to throw the kitchen sink at you and kind of force you to deploy everything in one fell swoop. Rather, we'll stagger it and align with your timeline ultimately.
The other cool thing about MDM is in Apple School Manager, you're actually able to create multiple locations. So you said you're using Jamf. At the moment, we can create a new location for Securely, and you can provision some devices over from Jamf to test drive with Securely. You don't have to deploy everything all at once. You can actually set some stuff off to the side, like 3 iPads or a MacBook, while you're using your Jamf solution. So we're able to actually provision the licenses over from one location to the other without interfering with your entire infrastructure. So take that into consideration with MDM as well.
Brandon, you bring up another good point too, guys. If you're similar to me in that you can talk about a solution till you're blue in the face, but at the end of the day, you need your hands on the wheel and your foot on the pedal. You need to give the car a test drive. We have the opportunity to deploy free trials of these things. So you want to test it within the confines of your district. You want to roll it out across the board, or even just pluck a few students and or staff members to test on a very small scale. Regardless, we can easily facilitate that. And at which point we would connect you with an engineer, much like Brandon, to ensure that deployment is not only smooth and successful, but the implementation, the configuration, they're all aligned with your preferences as well. Again, even if it's a small scale little proof of concept or something district wide and across the board, doesn't matter the scope of your deployment. Either way, you'll get that red carpet, so to speak. What other questions do we have, guys? This is good. This is encouraging. Again, I really encourage you guys to float any questions our way you might have. However, the fact that it's silent right now actually is a good thing in my opinion, because ultimately I wanted you guys to leave this conversation today with clarity, with understanding, with confidence in being in the know, with again, a flashlight on the path forward. So I hope that the silence speaks to that clarity. But if not, I cannot stress it enough. Ask us questions, guys. Oh, did somebody just have something?
I do. Yeah, I do have a quick question.
Yeah.
And so I am from Ocean State Libraries, so we're not a school, we're a public library system. We do filtering as required by E-rate. So we want as minimal as possible. We don't want any auditing. We don't want, we don't want to know what people are searching, things like that. However, with the new emergency connectivity fund that E-rate has been doing, some of our libraries are now getting laptops and Chromebooks that they're allowing patrons to take home. So we do need filtering for some of them. Is there something, is this doable, basically?
Yeah, so I got a couple of ideas there. Renee, what you would probably want to do is for the library itself, you could use our guest network filtering, and you could set up a very base level filtering where, maybe you just block porn and gambling and anonymous proxies, which would put you SIPA compliant according to according to the letter. If you go read SIPA compliance, it's only porn, gambling, and anonymous proxies. So you use guest filtering. No one's identified because they're not logging in, so data is completely anonymous, and everyone's protected. So that checks your box for SIPA compliancy. And then let's say you've got a stack of Chromebooks that can be checked out. Well, if you want them to be filtered off-site, you're going to have them registered to a Google domain. Okay, no matter what. That's, you go to any company in the content filtering space, and they're going to say, well, if you want to filter that Chromebook off-site, it needs to be attached to a Google domain, which I'm sure the library can handle. Okay, and once that's done, then you could deploy the extension to any user that's attached to the library's Google domain. So you hand out the laptop, tell them to log in with, a generic user account, the library, user one at whatever, and then that device is filtered both on and off site. And then for your Windows, did you say, was it Windows devices was the other besides the Chromebook?
Yes. Yes.
So that one, a little bit more difficult. I would definitely not say, go out and get an Active Directory and start managing those devices, but you're going to have some form of light management on them to lock them down. So the user, obviously one, so you can provision the filtering on the device, and two, so
Mhm.
they can't get it home and take it off, right? So something like SCCM or some lightweight management platform would be suggested there. That's the only way you're going to get that done. But the network, as far as being at the library, that's easily addressable with our guest DNS servers, and then the Chromebooks, as long as they're attached to a Google domain, we can easily deploy the extension to any user in the infrastructure as well.
Okay, so the guest filtering, that would work for library devices in-house as well as BYOD?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
Yep, you could just say porn, gambling, drugs, no bueno. And the
Mhm.
logs would show you that somebody tried to attempt to access it, but it's anonymous because no one's logged in. And so
Right.
you're not violating any privacy laws. So
Mhm. Okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you both, Renee for the question, Brandon for the explanation. Guys, one of my favorite things is when you ask for what you need. So whether it's like, hey, how do I configure this? What do you recommend here? Is this possible? Is this not possible? I love when I'm asked explicitly and directly, again, what is needed. So if there's any questions that come up or arise post presentation, I cannot stress enough. And I do so at the risk of sounding like a broken record, but please, please, please reach out to us. Again, I want to make sure you guys are ultimately squared away and have what you need to be successful.